Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about cologne fragrances. Now, I know there are people who love them and there are people who hate them. I can understand why some people hate them. For example, you may think that your favorite scent has been ruined off by those clones, or you may think that your favorite designer has been ripped off by being copied. But I also understand people who love them, and I'm one of those people who maybe not love, but I like clone fragrances for a few reasons. Now, people like clone fragrances because mainly because they are cheaper compared to the designer and niche, the original scents that they're trying to copy. And especially, given the fact that the next few years will be quite tough economically, in my opinion, I think clone fragrances will have an even more important role in the fragrance industry. So today I want to show you 7 clone scents that I think are worthy of checking out. I'm gonna start this video with 2 fragrances from the house of Al Haramain. The first one will be the Detour Noir. Now, I'm not gonna talk about the ugly bottle and the very cheap build quality because it feels absolutely horrid in the hand. I'm not gonna talk about how the lettering has already peeled off from my bottle. That's not important because what's important is the juice inside. And what you get inside is a absolutely fantastic clone of Parfum de Marly's Layton. Now, apart from that slightly chemical alcoholic opening that you get, the blast in the opening that you get, other than that, this is almost a completely accurate clone of Parfum de Marly's. You get that apple, you get that creamy vanilla sandalwood combo on the dry down. It's warm, it's inviting, it's very appropriate for the current season outside, for the colder months of the year. Also very versatile in this type of weather outside. It can be worn both during the day and during the night. It's a crowd pleaser. It will get you compliments. Good performance. I get about 8 hours on my skin with pretty solid projection in the first hour and a half to 2 hours. The Detour Noir from Al Haramain is definitely worth checking out. The second fragrance in this list, and the second fragrance from the house of Al Haramain, will be the Al Haramain Amber Oud Tobacco Edition. Now, this is a clone of Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Now, this is not the most accurate clone out there, but for example, unlike with the Detour Noir, another fragrance from this house that I showed you first, here the build quality is totally different. The bottle is really nice. You have this metal plaque on the front, you have a metal cap. They couldn't be more different as far as the actual build quality of the bottles and the presentation. Now, this is also a bit more on the expensive side when we talk about clones, but I think it's worth it. What you get here is about maybe 85 to 90% close clone of Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. Here, this is, to my nose, this is a bit more spicier, and there's a honey note in here that I don't think it's officially listed, but at least my nose picks up on that honey note that's quite heavy. Makes the whole fragrance a bit sweeter compared to the original, makes it even more unisex compared to the original. What you get here also is a fantastic performance. This is probably, I can call this safely, a beast performing fragrance. I get about 10 to 12 hours on my skin, on clothes. It lasts for days. It projects really hard for the first 2 to 3 hours. And it's also a very appropriate fragrance for the current cold weather outside. So I think you definitely need to check out the Tobacco Amber Oud Tobacco Edition from the House of Al Haramain. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you today is going to be an ultra cheap fragrance from Nike. I think, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name of the house right. If you know how this is supposed to be pronounced, use the comment section down below to let me know. Basically, this is called Nike Men Blue, and what this is a simplified version of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Ultra Mole. Now, I've had this fragrance for many years now. I got it as a gift long time ago, and at that point I wasn't familiar with Ultra Mole, so I didn't know this was a clone of that. Later on, when I got my first bottle of Ultra Mole, I understand what this is trying to be. And this is pretty much a close scent. The difference is here is that instead of that pear top note that you get in the Ultra Mole, here you get an apple note. But other than that, you still get that cedar, vanilla, lavender, tonka bean. On the dry down, this is pretty close to Ultra Mole. It's a bit sweeter to my nose, a bit like a more simplified version. It has good performance on skin. The problem here is that it's a bit softer on the projection side, but this is, as I said, ultra cheap. I think it goes for somewhere around $10 to $15. Next, let's go with another sort of a simplified version of a designer fragrance. That's Guess 1981 Los Angeles. Now this is sort of a clone of Versace Eros EDT. What you get here, you know, the top notes are plum and ginger. You get a slight spiciness in the opening because of that ginger, and then this dries down to a nice ambery sweet type of fragrance with a bit of oud somewhere in the backgrounds and a touch of tobacco as well. It's warm, it's sweet, it pretty much serves the same purpose as the Versace Eros, minus a little bit of the performance and minus a little bit of the projection, but it's worth checking out because this is another super cheap, I think, fragrance. It goes for about $20 or something like that. Next, at number 5, let's go with something a bit fresher, the Jazzab Silver from the House of Art Al Zafran. Now what this is a sort of a clone of Acqua di Gio, the original Acqua di Gio and Acqua di Gio Profumo. What I get here, the opening is close to the Acqua di Gio Profumo. It has that sharpness in the opening, that incense, but on the dry down, the incense sort of disappears and you get a little bit sweeter type of scent that's close to the original Acqua di Gio and not so much to the Acqua di Gio Profumo. It's a pretty good performer. I get about 6 to 6.5 hours with pretty good projection in the first hour and a half. It's super cheap. I got it for less than $15. Nice presentation. The only problem is that the build quality again here is like super cheap, but that doesn't matter because the actual bottle looks very nice sitting on your shelf. So if you are a fan of Acqua di Gio and Acqua di Gio Profumo, you definitely need to check out Jazzab Silver. And to finish this video off, I'll show you 2 fragrances from the House of Lattafa, the first one being the Lattafa Asad. Now at this point you probably know what this is. This is a clone of Dior Sauvage Elixir, and a very good clone at that. Very good quality of the scent. Now the bottle looks kind of tacky, I don't like it. The build quality isn't great, but the juice inside is very good. Now this is not an exact clone of Dior Sauvage Elixir, it's more of a take of Lattafa's take on that DNA. You get pretty much the same DNA, the same vibe, but here it's not as sharp, it's not as spicy compared to Sauvage Elixir. This is a bit sweeter. The lavender here is not as prominent, or at least is not as sharp as the one in Sauvage Elixir. It has a pretty good performance. I can, you know, it will get you that same barber shoppy vibe, but not as fresh as the Sauvage Elixir. The performance here is good. It's not as beastly as Elixir, but still I get 7 to 8 hours on my skin without any problems, with pretty good projection in the first hour and a half. The pricing is pretty good. It goes for about $35 to $40, which is just a fraction of the price of the original Elixir. This is sort of this could very well be a flanker of Sauvage Elixir. That's how good I think this is. And if you like Elixir, you definitely need to check out the Asad from Lattafa. And the final fragrance in today's video, and the second fragrance from the House of Lattafa, is going to be the Lattafa Fakhar Black. Now this is another fragrance that got very high, got a lot of hype a few months ago, and this was presented by other people like this is a clone of YSLY EDP. Now I wouldn't call it exactly a clone. I would call it Lattafa's take on that DNA. What they've done here, they took the YSLY EDP DNA, they've softened it up a little bit, removed some of the sharpness and some of that fruitiness in the opening. They've sweetened up the DNA, and that's the end result. I will call this about 80 to 85% close to YSLY EDP. If you are familiar with that scent, you'll immediately recognize that this is you know, trying to be something like that. It's sweeter compared to YSLY EDP with sort of less performance, of course. I still get a solid 6.5 to 7 hours out of it with good projection in the first hour and a half. But this is, I think, even more crowd pleasing compared to the original scent because it's sweeter, and I think this is targeted towards more of the younger crowd, the younger guys out there. A good performance, solid performance for great price, about $25-30. So it's definitely worth checking out if you are a fan of YSLY's EDP scent. And so in today's video I showed you 7 clone fragrances that are worthy of checking out. Some of them are ultra cheap, others are a bit more expensive, but all of them I think are good at what they're trying to do. So I hope that you found this video interesting or helpful. If you did, like it, subscribe to my channel, stay safe, and I'm gonna see you in my next video. Bye bye.